I was halfway through unwrapping my roast beef sandwich in the break room when I saw them, two guys in navy blazers standing outside my cubicle, clipboards in hand. I froze. They were going through my workstation like it was a crime scene, photographing my monitor, opening drawers, even wearing gloves. Real official. I didn't panic, didn't flinch. I just knew. This was it. Todd Jansen finally pulled the trigger. My name's Eli Waters. I'm 34. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'd been working logistics at this distribution company for 5 years, and I knew every inch of that warehouse and office like the back of my hand. Todd joined the team about 8 months after I started, and from the jump, he had a chip on his shoulder. I wasn't even a supervisor, but somehow he had it in his head that I was standing in his way. He made that pretty clear day one. I walked back to my cubicle, sandwich still in hand, and the taller blazer guy turned to face me. "Mr. Waters?" "Yeah." "This is a routine inspection related to reports of workplace violations. Errors, misconduct, possible safety risks." His voice was flat, practiced. Like he'd said this exact line 50 times before lunch. Todd was 3 cubicles over, pretending to shuffle papers. He wasn't fooling anyone. His eyes kept flicking up, locked on every move the guys made like he was watching a show he'd waited months to see. I kept my face still, but inside, my pulse was pounding. Not from guilt, just from the sheer audacity of it. Todd had been laying the bricks for this setup for months. I could smell it from a mile away. But now, it was real. These guys were walking around my space like I was a threat to national security over a few shipping errors. Quick note. Before we get too deep, tell us, where are you watching from? He thought this was the moment, thought I'd panic, lash out, look guilty. But I didn't. I just stood there, chewing slow, watching him pretend not to stare. Because Todd Jansen, he was exactly the type. Had to prove he was the smartest guy in the room, even when no one was competing. He'd interrupt me on team calls to clarify stuff I already explained perfectly fine. Always with that fake friendly tone like, "Oh, just to expand on what Eli meant." Then he'd say the exact same thing, just with more words and less sense. He'd CC our boss, Mr. Halpern, on emails where he corrected me, except the things he flagged weren't even wrong, just nitpicky rewording or formatting nonsense. Once, he sent back a perfectly fine shipment confirmation and asked if I intended the use of passive voice. What kind of grown man does that? Then he started volunteering for my reports, said it'd streamline department communication. But I saw what he was doing. He rewrote entire summaries I'd already finished, stuff I handed in early, just to bury the clarity in corporate fluff. Made them sound smart, but useless. Like a resume no one wants to read. He hated that I didn't need the spotlight, that I didn't suck up or name drop when drivers told me I helped them shave hours off their routes, that I just did the job, quietly, consistently, no noise, no theatrics. And you know what burns a guy like Todd to his core? You can't outshine a guy who keeps his light to himself. So, he started watching me. I'd hear his chair shift when I walked in. He'd glance at the clock every damn morning. I started leaving a minute or two early for lunch, just to see what he'd do. Sure enough, he'd poke his head out 10 minutes later, pretending to need something. "Hey, did you already log the inventory totals for Zone B?" No smile, just fishing. Then he'd show up in my cubicle mid-morning, holding a clipboard like he had urgent questions. "Quick thing, Eli. How are you coding the reroutes now? Just want to make sure you're not missing any line items. I kept it calm. Always answered, always clear. But I saw the twitch in his eye when I didn't get flustered. He made it personal, started treating my work like a checklist for his own ego. I caught him staring at my screen more than once. One time, I walked past his desk and saw my name in his search bar. He closed the tab like a guilty kid with a browser history. The worst part? He didn't even hide it well. Other people noticed too, but nobody said anything. Not directly, they just gave me those looks, like, "Damn, what's his deal with you?" One Friday, Lacey from payroll leaned over during a team huddle and whispered, "Is he always that intense?" I shrugged. "Only when I'm breathing." She laughed, but it wasn't funny. Not really, because Todd had turned my regular workday into a maze of second guesses. I double-checked stuff I knew was right, took screenshots of things that used to be routine. Not because I was scared, but because I knew how far he'd go to twist anything he could grab onto. And every week, he got bolder. One time, he brought up a spreadsheet error during a team meeting, claimed it caused a delay. But the error wasn't mine. It was on a shared doc, and the timestamp proved I hadn't touched it in days. I called him out, straight-faced. "Check the version history." He stammered. "Well, yeah, maybe it was already there. I just thought—" "You thought wrong," I said. Halpern moved on. No drama, but Todd didn't forget. This wasn't about a job anymore. It was about control. And he didn't want the role I had. He wanted the reputation, the trust, the quiet respect people gave me just for showing up and doing the work right. And that was something he couldn't fake. So he decided if he couldn't earn it, he'd find a way to tear it down. So I gave him what he wanted, not all at once, just small things. Small enough to look real, but harmless enough not to matter. A wrong delivery window here, a misfiled doc there, sloppy but correctable. I made the mistakes easy to find so he could catch them, report them, build his little portfolio. First one was a Tuesday. I logged the wrong delivery window for a shipment heading to Dayton. Let it sit for an hour, then caught it. Updated the system, and emailed the update to the routing team. He replied 2 minutes later, copying Halpern, with a fake casual, "Good catch, Eli. Must have been a long morning." Next week, I dropped a receiving document into the wrong folder, labeled for the previous month. Left it there for a day. Fixed it quietly. He flagged it anyway. Sent a screenshot in a group chat like we were doing forensic work. By the third mistake, I was in control. That one happened in a department sync. I'd written brake pad instead of brake pad in the order notes. Same meaning, didn't matter. But mid-meeting, I corrected it out loud. Said, "Just noticed a typo here." Fixed it. Todd immediately perked up like a dog hearing a treat bag crinkle. Shot me a glance like he'd just hit the jackpot. He thought I was slipping, that he had leverage. But the whole time, I was setting the trap. One afternoon, he stepped away from his desk, left his laptop open. I wasn't trying to snoop, but when your name is in bold font across a file labeled Eli Waters, documentation, you look, screenshots, emails, printouts of internal messages I'd sent, a copy of the delivery log from the Dayton shipment, notes in the margins, handwritten, obsessive, things like repeat mistake and pattern. He was playing prosecutor, and he really thought he had a case, but I was building something else. Then one Tuesday, rainy, quiet, felt like something was coming. Todd made his move. He booked a compliance meeting through Halpern's calendar, dropped his little file on the desk like it was the smoking gun. Inside were the screenshots, flagged emails, notes on performance patterns, and questionable corrections. Called me negligent, sloppy, a liability. He requested the inspection happen while I was at lunch, told the officers it'd make the review more authentic. No chance for me to hide anything. That was the word he used, authentic. They didn't say much at first. One clicked through my files. The other checked under my desk, opened drawers, flipped through notebooks until he landed on that one, the black one. "What's this?" he asked, holding it up. I swallowed. "Just personal notes, stuff I write about work." He didn't nod, didn't react, just started reading. At first I figured he'd skim and toss it aside, but 5 minutes passed, then 10. He was still reading. The second guy stopped what he was doing and looked over his shoulder. Then he took it from him, started reading too. The room shifted. Conversations outside the cubicle slowed down. You could feel it in the air. People noticing something was happening. Todd was still pretending to type at his desk, like he wasn't straining to hear every word. After 20 minutes, the taller guy finally looked up. "You wrote this over 18 months?" "Yeah," I said. My voice was steady, but I could feel every eye in the room on me now. "Is it exaggerated?" "No, it's just moments, things that mattered that day, stuff I didn't want to forget." They didn't say anything, just looked at each other. Then one of them stood up, took the journal, and walked straight to Halpern's office. 2 minutes later, Todd got called into the glass conference room. I didn't even have to turn my head. I saw his reflection in the metal file cabinet as he stood up, adjusted his collar, smirked like he was about to collect an award, walked in like he owned the place. 10 minutes passed, then 15. The smirk didn't last. Through the glass, I saw his arms start crossing, his posture sink an inch, his mouth open, then shut again, his fingers twitching against the table. Halpern wasn't yelling, but you could see the shift. The inspectors weren't buying what he was selling. By minute 25, he looked like a kid who'd been caught cheating and just realized the teacher had all the receipts. He wasn't in control anymore. He was in the middle of something he couldn't spin, couldn't reword, couldn't rewrite, because while he came in with screenshots and gotcha emails, I came in with a quiet record of 18 months of showing up and doing the damn job. And now, the whole office knew it. 30 minutes later, they came back. Halpern stood behind them, arms folded. The taller inspector looked right at me. We've reviewed everything. No violations, no further action. Just like that. But then he flipped open the notebook again, turned to a dog-eared page. You've mentioned 58 different employees by name, he said, but not him. Not once, I shrugged. I didn't plan that. I just wrote what happened. Exactly, he said. And it says more than any report he filed. They walked off, calm, professional, but the message was loud. Todd didn't come out of that glass room for another 20 minutes. When he finally did, his face was tight, no bluster, no fake smile. He didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just went straight to his desk, sat down, and stared at his screen like it might save his life. Next day, same thing, no loud corrections, no, just a quick note drive-bys. He worked like a regular employee, silent, still, background noise. I thought, maybe he got it. Maybe seeing himself from the outside, maybe realizing nobody backed him up. That would crack the mirror. I was wrong. 3 days later, Ricky from inventory slid into the break room next to me, real quiet. Yo, just a heads up. Todd's been asking about your notebook I stopped mid-bite. What about it? Said you were writing about people without permission, called it creepy, said you were, like, spying or something. I laughed, but it didn't feel funny. He serious? Ricky nodded. Tried floating it to Lacey yesterday. She shut him down, but he's still trying. That was Todd's move. If he couldn't beat you clean, he'd twist the narrative. Plant seeds, not proof. He knew that if he just said it loud enough, to enough people, someone would bite. He didn't care about truth. He cared about control. And now, the journal, the one thing he couldn't touch during that inspection, he was going to turn it into something dirty. By the end of the week, I could feel it, the shift. Conversations got shorter. Smiles were tight, not cold, but cautious. People didn't linger like they used to. Like they weren't sure if I was just writing down praise or watching for weaknesses. Todd had cracked the surface. Barely. But enough. I caught him near the vending machines, laughing too loud with a couple warehouse guys. I mean, who keeps a secret diary about coworkers? He said. What's next? Hidden cameras. He knew I was walking by, wanted me to hear. I stopped, turned. Anything you want to say to me, Todd? He blinked. No, just talking. Then talk better. He smirked, but it was weaker now. He knew I wasn't biting. I wasn't going to blow up and prove his point. Still, I won't lie, it got under my skin. I'd built that journal to stay sane, not to start rumors. And now the guy who tried to get me fired was painting me like some creep with a black book full of secrets. He couldn't beat the facts, so he went after the story. And that's when I knew this wasn't over. By the end of that week, the energy was different, and not in a subtle way. People flat out started acting better. Ricky brought in donuts Monday morning. No birthday, no meeting. Just showed up, box in hand. Figured we could all use a sugar rush, he said. Lacey stuck a gift card to someone's monitor with a post-it that said, "Thanks for staying late last night." Lifesaver. Carla gave a public shout-out during our department call. Terry for covering a double shift without grumbling. Then Halpern, quiet, steady Halpern, started opening meetings by naming someone who went the extra mile that week. Said we needed to get better at recognizing effort, not just mistakes. It spread fast, notes on desks, high fives in the break room. Even quiet folks started speaking up. Not dramatic, not forced. Just honest appreciation, said out loud. Meanwhile, Todd was breaking. He tried to keep up, tried to fake the whole gratitude vibe, but it landed like wet cement. Nice work, I guess, he mumbled one morning when Carla fixed a routing error. Or, "You're finally catching on," after Ricky streamlined a freight report. Said it with a half smile, like he was giving out gold stars he didn't believe in. Then came the journal. I caught him scribbling in some leather-bound thing he'd placed deliberately on his desk. Open, angled toward the walkway. Like it was a product display. Terry walked past and nodded at it. "You journaling too now?" Todd puffed up. "Yeah. Thought it was a good idea. Tracking my wins." That's what he called it. Wins. Not moments. Not people. Wins. I saw the page once when he left it out during lunch. His handwriting looped big, all caps at the top. Nailed it. Client restructure email, September 18th. Another line, outperformed projections in Q3 report. All about him. Nobody else's name even appeared on the page. And now that people were paying attention to behavior, his stuck out like a sore thumb. Gratitude has a tone. It has weight. You can't fake it. You either mean it or you don't. And Todd didn't. He was trying to play catch-up in a game he didn't understand. And the more he tried to mimic it, the more obvious it got that he wasn't built for it. Even Halpern noticed. During one of our morning huddles, after Todd gave some half-baked compliment about overall improvement, Halpern cut in and said, "We're not here to measure noise. We're here to measure effort." It landed hard. Todd didn't speak the rest of the meeting. The guy who once couldn't shut up was now barely visible. And not because anyone iced him out. He did that all by himself. 3 weeks later, Halpern called me into his office. No subject line on the invite. Just 10:30, closed door. I stepped in. He shut the door behind me, calm, like always. But his eyes had that steady focus, the kind you only see when someone's already made up their mind. "I just want to say thanks," he started. "The culture shift? You sparked it," I nodded. "Wasn't trying to, just trying to survive." He cracked a small smile, then got serious. "But I've also noticed someone who isn't adapting, who's actively resisting it." He turned, opened the top drawer of his filing cabinet, and pulled out a thick folder. "Here's the thing," he said. "Individually, these looked like friction. Annoyances, but taken together?" He slid the folder across the desk. "It's toxic." Inside, complaints from staff, notes from HR, screenshots of Todd's passive-aggressive emails, his attempts to undermine the praise culture, backhanded comments, undermining reports. The whole investigation he started on me, front to back, filed and flagged. "I didn't realize how long it had been building," he said. "But your journal, it showed me the contrast." The silence around him? That said more than any complaint could. I didn't say anything. Just let the weight of it sit. "He's not being fired," Halpern added, "but he is being moved. Solo role, another branch, more analytics, less collaboration, fewer people to poison. Where to? Cincinnati. He starts there next month." I nodded again. "Does he know yet?" "He will by the end of the day." Halpern closed the folder, leaned forward. "You're a team guy, Eli. Doesn't matter if you're loud about it or not. People follow tone more than titles. And yours? It's the one they trust." I didn't grin, didn't gloat. I just said, "Appreciate it," and got up to leave. Because in the end, it didn't need a speech. I didn't win anything. I just outlasted him. Todd built a campaign. I built a record. He tried to weaponize a journal and ended up getting exposed by it. And now? He was being boxed out, carefully, quietly, because he made it impossible to stay. I walked back to my desk like nothing had happened, sat down, opened my inbox, answered emails, business as usual. And a few minutes later, across the office, I watched Todd walk into Halpern's office with that same stiff posture I'd seen the day of the inspection. This time, though, he didn't come out grinning. He didn't come out at all, for a while. 2 months later, Todd was gone. No big announcement, no send-off. Just an empty desk and a silent calendar. Word was he asked for the transfer. Wanted a fresh start. They sent him to a branch 2.5 hours south. Office-only role, no direct reports, no team, just spreadsheets and silence. I didn't celebrate, didn't trash him, didn't bring it up unless someone asked. And when they did, I just said, "Hope he figures it out." Because by then, I'd figured it out. Guys like Todd, they're not driven by success, they're driven by fear. Fear of being average, fear of not being noticed, fear of someone else getting credit without having to scream for it. He didn't hate me, Not really. He hated that I didn't need the spotlight to matter. My journal's still in my desk. Still write in it most days before I leave. Not always full pages, sometimes just a name, a sentence, a win someone else pulled off. But it's not just for me anymore. It's become a reminder. What you give off, people feel. And what you build, even in quiet, people remember. The funny part? I never fought him. Never raised my voice. Never tried to get him back. I didn't need to. I just kept showing up, doing my job, noticing when people got it right. And in a place where that became normal, where people led with appreciation instead of ego, being petty and manipulative lit up like a flare. He made himself the red flag. Nobody pushed him out. He burned the bridge and kept walking. Todd handed me the rope. I didn't have to do a thing. He tied the knot, looped it around his own reputation, and kept pulling. Revenge didn't come from payback. It came from truth. And now? The guy who tried to prove I didn't belong? He doesn't work here anymore. Not because I forced him out. Because he made it impossible to stay.